Rev up your engines!
Well, it looks like Toyota may be bringing back the MR2. Here's a design picture of what it might look like. It would be the Toyota Corolla GR's 3-cylinder, 300-plus horsepower engine it'd be in. Now, they say this could debut as early as the end of 2025 with a 1.6-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. Well, the MR2s are zippy little cars driving around, and they're even saying, hey, they might make a gasoline and an electric version of it. Give people a choice, right? They say that the electric-powered one might go on sale 2027, and the gasoline-powered one in 2026. So, a couple years from now, you might be able to buy an MR2 with the screaming little 3-cylinder engine. Who knows? Things change as time goes on, but it's an interesting idea that they might be bringing back the MR2. This time, since it would have a GR Corolla 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, it would be a sports car actually made by Toyota, not made by BMW like the Supra is, or not made by Subaru as their other little sports car is. This would be an actually Toyota-built one. Well, thousands of German luxury cars are seized in the United States, and why? Because of forced labor. Okay, well, the Germans enforced labor. That seems to be kind of a cultural thing with them. If you think about World War II, well, it turns out that several thousand Audis and 1,000 Porsches and several hundred Bentleys are impounded in U.S. ports because they say they have parts in them that were made by slave labor in China. They're Chinese parts made with slave labor. They weren't the Germans directly hiring slave labor, but the Germans buying things from the Chinese for their cars that were made by slave labor, supposedly. Well, it just goes to the history of Germans using slave labor. I guess they just figured, oh, what the heck? We did it in the past. Why can't we do it now? There's an act in the United States called the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act that imports things from the Xinjiang region are banned because of the presumption that they were made with forced labor. And it's the first time they've been accused of using slave labor. Volkswagen has a factory there in the capital. Urumqi, or however it's pronounced. Of course, Volkswagen says, we're not aware of these components were sourced. It's an indirect supplier. And the hilarious thing is, here's a little irony, Volkswagen sales in China are plummeting, and they're trying to increase their sales in the United States. But they're using slave labor parts from China. Irony abounds, it twirls around. It just comes down to there's the Germans again, using forced labor. You'd think they would have learned from World War II. But I guess not. Well, I've seen it, and other people are writing about it. Garbage construction in the RV business. They have a hard time finding anybody that wants to work building the RVs. So the new RVs, they are just made like junk. People have brought some to me, and I was amazed. Floors coming off, the sidings flying off, cheap Chinese tires that blow up. These guys went to this RV park, and here's what they found. These new ones they were selling. A trailer's low drain points were not at the lowest point on the rig. Not only that, they were held on with zip ties, and not even the right kind of zip ties at that. They didn't use stainless steel ones. They used just plastic ones, right? Going down the road, boing, they're going to snap. Sewage pipes would be leaking all over the place, right? They also found low-pressure propane lines that were curled up and zip-tied in the trailer's frame. And on other RVs, zip ties held up gas lines and electrical lines. I've seen it, Unfortunately, they just can't get people to build them. They don't pay much. There's no, obviously, real inspection process for it. I mean, let's take the facts. You buy a brand new car in the United States, by law, it has to be crash tested by the government and stuff, and then before they can sell them, right? There's no such laws for RVs, There's nobody crash tested them or tested. They just build them and sell them to people. And I've had people bring them here, and I checked it out, and they showed me, look at this horrible quality. They brought me once, they're like 6 months old, and they were just as bad as that, just things glued together, hanging down, pieces fell off while they were driving down the highway. Let me tell you, I wouldn't buy an RV anyway, lugging that giant thing around. What kind of a vacation would that be? And of course, if you do have a large RV, you can only park with the other large RVs. It's not like they have the ads, oh, you're out in the mountains all by yourself. No, you aren't. You're in the RV parking lot with everybody else, right? Playing their music. It doesn't work that way. Well, if you don't believe me talking about how Nissans make horrible transmissions, listen to this hilarious story. Muish Simman says, Scotty, I rented a vehicle from Avis to drive for Uber over the long weekend. After I drove 30 miles, it started shuddering and making a whining noise on the highway. Then when climbing up the San Francisco hills, it wouldn't accelerate anymore. I turned it off and I got a message, transmission hot. Then it went in limp mode and the check engine light on. Now I'm stuck with the car till Tuesday because of the holiday. Please share this with the world. Yeah, well, the transmission went out, right? I mean, the Jatco transmissions and those things are rolling piles of crap. And this guy rented one to drive for Uber for the weekend to make some money on a holiday weekend, right? It finally died going up one of those big hills. I walked up that. It's a steep hill. They went in San Francisco with the weird houses that curves. It goes way up in the air. And it wouldn't make it up. And now he's stuck with a vehicle that doesn't move. Good thing he was just renting it. That's all I gotta say, you know. Makes you think. Boy, I wouldn't even want to rent one of those things. Now, you know, I will rent all kinds of cars when I go on vacation because I want to try them out, see how they are for all you people out there, right? But I'll tell you right now, after that horror story, I'm going to say, what do you got and how many miles are on it? And if it was a Nissan with, 10,000, 8,000 miles, I'd probably say, I'll drive it, see what it's like. But I won't rent one with high mileage like that, 79,000 miles, because I don't want to be stranded in the middle of nowhere with a vehicle that can't even move. Con says, where is the fuse location for my computer on a 2009 Honda Accord? You open the hood on the driver's side, there is a fuse box. You pop the top and then you look at the bottom of it. Once you take the top off on the bottom side, it'll have a list of what everything is. One will say ECU on it. You actually have 3 fuse boxes on the car. The other ones are inside under the kick panels and under the driver's steering wheel part. Under there's another little fuse box in there. But the computer one's under the hood. Check it. Now, realize one thing about computer fuses. If your computer fuse ever does blow, you're probably screwed because rarely does it blow unless the computer itself has gone bad. Or if you get in a wreck, the wires get pinched going to it. And normally, if the wires get pinched, by the time that fuse blows, it also fries your computer. Even if it's a small fuse, like a 5 amp fuse, 5 amps, still a lot of power to destroy the tiny computer circuits. Almost every time I've seen a Honda that had a blown ECU fuse, the computer was ruined. Whether the wiring got shorted out or not, it had enough power to fry that fuse. It fried the computer before the fuse blew. Computers are very sensitive, and those little fuses, they don't save it from any kind of a big jolt. That's why you got to be really sure. Never backwards jump your car. Negative on positive, positive on negative. If you jump start a car, that'll fry the computers. Doesn't matter. The fuse will blow, yeah, but the computer will fry before the fuse blows. Doesn't take much power to ruin a computer on a car. Bonus Field says, I have metal shavings after an overhaul of my engine. I overhauled my engine at the end of December. I'm on my 3rd oil change. I saw there tiny shiny particles on a dipstick. Is this normal or should I be worried? Okay, I would be very worried. If I were you, drain the oil again. Get a sample of the oil. Send it to one of those oil sample companies. There's millions of them. They will give you an analysis, and they'll tell you what that metal is. They have the ability to analyze it. And they'll probably say, well, that's metal from a bearing or metal from a rod. They'll tell you where the metal came from, what it's made out of. And it probably wasn't overhauled correctly. There's so many things that can go wrong overhauling a modern engine. Unless you use all new parts, rods, rod bearings, piston rings, valve seals, valves. There's so many things that go wrong. And then the old metal parts will just wear in pieces come in. So get a sample. Send it to one of these oil analysis companies, and they'll tell you what's in it. It's probably going to be bad news. I hate to tell you, but I've never seen metal shavings in oil, and it wasn't bad news. Well, here's some more from the electric car. People trying to shame everyone. Here's their article. Thinking about buying a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle? Please use it responsibly. By using it responsibly, of course, they mean plug it in and charge it all the time and drive it on electricity as long as possible, right? Because the plug-in hybrids, they can drive a certain distance on battery. Now, pretty limited distance. The most I've ever seen one go was about 60 miles on electricity. Then it would revert to the gasoline engine and run on that. Now, they're hybrids, so they get much better gas mileage, right? They're plug-in hybrids, so they don't have the giant battery that a fully electric vehicle has. You take a fully electric vehicle, a big one's supposed to be able to go at least like 250 miles on a full charge, right? Well, these things will go maybe 50, 60 miles. If everything is just hunky-dory and you're only going like 50 miles, 55 miles an hour on the highway and it's not cold, you're not running the heater, you're not running the air conditioning, right? Now the people are insane. If you buy one of these plug-in hybrids, you really need to use it responsibly. Now look, Americans want convenience. If you run out of electricity, do you really think some clown is going to be searching with his 50-mile range for a charging station? Of course not. You're going to drive it on a hybrid gasoline battery system where it gets better gas mileage, but it's not purely electric. I mean, that's the way Americans are. We want convenience, right? If you got something that isn't that convenient, people aren't going to use it. And if they have it and it's inconvenient to use it, they're going to use the gasoline motor. And then they'll be shamed by the electric car people who say, you're not using it correctly. You're not being responsible with your hybrid car. Oh, man. They're crying already, you know? So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.